first time I heard my wife cry like that, it broke me. It wasn't just a sob, it was the kind of desperate, frightened cry that chills a man straight to his bones. Please, let me go. Someone will see you. Her voice cracked. I wasn't home when it happened. I was still finishing my paperwork at the police station. No one in the neighborhood knew Yetzi had just been appointed as the new police chief. My wife. Linda was at home alone, tending to her flowers like she always did. That's when Karen, the self-proclaimed queen of the HOA, stormed onto our porch. Karen had always been a problem. Complaints about the color of our shutters, threats about our lawn being 1 inch too long, even angry notes about our dog barking at night. But nothing could have prepared us for what she did that evening. Linda told me later how. Karen marched up with 2 other HOA board members behind her. She was holding a heavy chain in her hands. "This house isn't up to HOA standards," Karen barked. "Your husband keeps ignoring my notices. Maybe if I tie you down here, he'll finally listen." Before Linda could react, Karen forced her against the porch railing, wrapped the chain around her wrists, and locked it with a padlock. The men just stood there, snickering as Linda begged them to stop. "Karen, please, this is crazy," Linda shouted, her voice trembling. "Crazy?" Karen sneered. "No, this is called authority. Maybe now you'll remember who runs this neighborhood." Linda's tears rolled down her face as she struggled. But the chain bit into her wrists. She prayed I'd come home soon. When I finally pulled into the driveway and saw my wife chained like that, her face pale, her wrists red and swollen eye froze. My heart slammed in my chest. For a split second, I wasn't a police chief. I wasn't even a man of law. I was just a husband watching the woman I love in pain. "What the hell have you done?" I roared. Karen crossed her arms smugly. "Finally. Took you long enough? Maybe now you'll understand the meaning of rules." I rushed up the porch. Fumbling with the chain, trying to free Linda, her eyes met mine, terrified but relieved. "Mark." She wouldn't listen. Linda choked, sobbing into my chest as soon as I got her free. I held her close, trembling with rage. "You're safe now. I've got you," Karen smirked. "Oh, don't be so dramatic. She wasn't in real danger. It was just a lesson." I turned slowly, my voice low, but filled with fire. "A lesson? You assaulted my wife. You restrained her against her will. Do you realize what you've done?" Karen rolled her eyes. "You're just a homeowner here like everyone else. The HOA board makes the rules." And she, pointing at Linda, wasn't following them. I stepped closer, towering over her. "Karen, you made the biggest mistake of your life." Her smirk faltered for the first time. "What do you mean?" I took a deep breath, locking eyes with her. "I'm not just a homeowner. I'm the new police chief in this town." For the first time, Karen's bravado cracked. Her face went pale, and her hands trembled, ever so slightly. Linda whispered through tears, "Mark, please don't let her get away with this." I kissed her forehead gently and tightened my jaw. "Don't worry, love. Justice begins tonight." Karen's laughter rang out, but it wasn't confident anymore. It was hollow, forced. "You can't scare me with your title," she said, though her voice wavered. "The HOA has lawyers." "We have power. You think you can just waltz in here in power?" I cut her off, stepping closer. "Power doesn't mean tormenting a woman in her own home. Power doesn't mean chaining someone like a criminal. What you did wasn't authority, it was abuse." Linda clutched my arm. She was still trembling, her wrists marked by the chain. I guided her inside, sat her on the couch, and wrapped her hands in a cool cloth. Her eyes never left mine, silently pleading for comfort. "I'll be okay," she whispered, though her voice was fragile. "Just don't let her hurt anyone else." I nodded, fury simmering in my veins. Outside, Karen paced nervously on the porch while her 2 board members muttered uneasily. "Maybe we went too far," one of them whispered. Karen snapped at him. "Shut up. We did what had to be done." I stepped back outside, my police badge gleaming under the porch light. "No, Karen. What had to be done? Is me arresting you?" Her jaw dropped. "Arrest? Are you insane?" You can't arrest me. I'm the HOA president. I held up the pair of handcuffs clipped to my belt. You just committed unlawful restraint, harassment, and assault. I've seen hardened criminals do less. The two men who had come with her began backing away. We don't want trouble, one muttered. Karen spun on them. Don't you dare leave me. We're in this together. But they were already halfway across the lawn, their loyalty crumbling under the weight of what they had witnessed. I read Karen her rights as she stammered, tears welling in her eyes. This is ridiculous. I was just enforcing the rules. No, I said firmly, locking the cuffs around her wrists. You were enforcing your ego. Linda stood in the doorway, watching with wide eyes. I could see the mix of relief and sorrow on her face, relief that justice was finally happening, sorrow that it had ever come to this. As I placed Karen in the back of my cruiser, she spat out, "The neighborhood will hate you for this. You'll regret it." But deep inside, I knew the opposite would happen. People were tired of living in fear of her. They were just too scared to speak up. The next morning, the neighborhood was buzzing. Word had spread fast. The mighty HOA president, arrested on her own street. Some neighbors peeked through curtains. Others came by quietly, thanking me for finally standing up to her. One elderly man, Mr. Thompson, approached me with tears in his eyes. "Son," he said, gripping my hand firmly, "we've been waiting years for someone to do what you just did. She's ruined lives here. You saved us all, but Linda..." She was still shaken. That night, as we sat on the couch, she leaned against me and whispered, "Mark, I'm proud of you." But I keep hearing her laugh. I keep feeling that chain. I pulled her close, my chest tightening. "I know, love. Trauma doesn't vanish overnight, but you're safe. And I'll spend every day proving that to you." Her tears wet my shirt as I held her. For the first time, I realized this battle wasn't just about HOA corruption. It was about healing hearts scarred by cruelty. And little did we know, Karen wasn't done. Karen's release on bail came faster than I expected. Her family had money, and the HOA board, though shaken, still had influence. 3 nights later, as Linda and I sat on the porch drinking tea, headlights swept across our driveway. A car stopped, and out stepped Karen, flanked by her lawyer. Linda gripped my hand instantly. "Mark, it's her." Karen's smile was poisonous. "You thought you won, didn't you? But I'm still HOA president. And now you're in my sights." I stood tall, my voice cold. "You should have stayed away, Karen," her lawyer interjected. "Chief, your actions last night were an abuse of power. You arrested my client without due process?" I smirked. "Really? I followed the law to the letter? Maybe you should study the penal code before making empty threats." Karen's face twisted. "This isn't over. You'll lose your job, your home, everything. I'll make sure of it." Linda spoke up softly, but firmly, her voice trembling, yet brave. "Karen, you've already taken enough. You almost broke me. But you won't break us." Karen's eyes narrowed, but she stormed back into her car. I knew then we weren't dealing with a neighborly feud anymore. This was war. The following weeks were hell. False citations appeared in our mailbox. Daily claims of improper flower placement, unauthorized. Wind chimes, even illegal porch furniture. Neighbors whispered about being fined for leaving. Their trash cans out for 5 extra minutes, one by one. Residents started coming to me privately. They were fed up. They told stories of intimidation, threats, and fines so outrageous they bordered on theft. Karen had been ruling the neighborhood like a tyrant, and her arrest had only scratched the surface. Linda, though still shaken, urged me, "Mark, maybe this is your purpose here. Maybe you weren't meant to just live quietly. Maybe you were meant to free these people." Her words struck me deep. She was right. I wasn't just a husband. I wasn't just a police chief. I was a protector, and these people needed me. So I began gathering testimonies. Night after night, I sat with neighbors at our kitchen table. Old couples, single moms, even young families, all broken by Karen's reign of terror. One woman sobbed as she told me, Karen threatened to have her children expelled from the neighborhood school over a broken fence panel. A veteran shared how he was fined $5,000 for flying his American flag too high. Piece by piece, the puzzle of Karen's corruption came together, and it was darker than I ever imagined. Finally, with enough evidence in hand, I brought the case to the county prosecutor. The charges stacked high: fraud, harassment, extortion, abuse of power. The day of Karen's trial was tense. She strutted into court as if she still owned the world, but her smirk faded as witness after witness shared their stories. The walls of arrogance closed in on her. Linda squeezed my hand as the verdict was read: guilty on all counts. Karen's scream echoed through the courtroom. "This isn't fair. I am the HOA. You can't do this to me." But the gavel came down, and justice was sealed. The neighborhood was never the same again, thankfully. With Karen gone, the HOA board dissolved. Residents voted for a fresh start, choosing fairness and kindness over tyranny. For the first time in years, kids played freely on the lawns without parents worrying about fines. Neighbors greeted each other warmly, no longer living under fear. Linda healed slowly, but each day brought her more peace. She started tending to her garden again, her laughter returning to the air. Sometimes I'd catch her humming while planting flowers, and I knew the shadows of that night were fading. One evening, as we sat together watching the sunset, Linda turned to me and said, "Mark, I never thought chains could teach us freedom." I looked at her, puzzled. "What do you mean?" She smiled softly, eyes glistening. "That night, when Karen chained me, I felt weak, powerless. But because of that, we found strength, not just us, but the whole community. Sometimes the cruelest moments birthed the greatest courage." Her words sank deep into my heart. She was right. Pain had brought us together, and justice had set us free. Later that week, the neighbors gathered for a block party, the first in years. People brought food, music filled the air, and children ran barefoot across the grass. Mr. Thompson raised a toast. "To Chief Mark and his wife, Linda," he said, his voice breaking with emotion, "for standing up when we couldn't, and for showing us what true leadership looks like." The applause was thunderous. Linda leaned against me, smiling with tears in her eyes, but I shook my head humbly. It wasn't just me. It was all of us, finally standing together. That's what changed everything. As the night wound down, Linda whispered, "Do you think people will ever forget what happened?" I wrapped my arm around her, watching the stars emerge in the sky. Maybe not. But maybe that's the point. Let them remember so no one ever lets a Karen rise to power again. The crowd slowly dispersed, but the feeling lingered, a sense of unity, of healing, of hope. When I finally laid down that night, holding Linda close, I realized the greatest badge of honor I carried wasn't the one on my chest. It was being the man who stood up when it mattered most, the man who protected love, community, and justice. And if there's one lesson I'd share with anyone listening, it's this: never underestimate the strength born from love. Because love will always stand taller than chains. This story is just the beginning. There is so much more ahead. Subscribe to the channel to join me on this journey.